Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Catholic Coffee Talk, a podcast where in between sips we answer your Catholic questions. I'm your host, Father Brad Doyle, and I have with me our resident good Catholic, Peter Gone. Now, Peter, is it Catholic Coffee Talk today, or what's happening?
It is Catholic Cider Talk, because we're doing a Halloween special, and I got me some nice apple cider.
Wow. Whoa. Every time you sip, is it going to do that?
I hope not.
Hey, every time I hear the word cider, you know what I think of?
I don't know.
You got your whiskey drink, you got your cider drink, you got your dinner drink, you got your dinner done. Sing the songs that remind him of the good times, you sing the songs that remind him of the bad times. Chumbawamba, or something. It's the song by that band in the 90s, but every time you say cider, I think of that song. Of that? But it is cider because we are in October, and this is releasing somewhere around All Hallows Eve. Mm-hmm. This is our Halloween special where we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween and different things. Peter, what's your favorite Halloween song that you enjoy putting on the radio in your car during October?
It's funny, because I'm generally not a huge Halloween guy, but I do have a favorite Halloween song, and it's not the Monster Mash. I actually have a lot of thoughts about the Monster Mash.
I want to hear them.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not the Monster Mash. This is our coffee roaster here at Catholic Company pointed this out to me. It's not the Monster Mash. It is a song about monsters doing the Monster Mash.
So we don't even know.
We don't even know. No, there's a giant epistemological hole in the middle of this song that we don't actually have the primary source of the Monster Mash. We only have the secondary source, which is a song about a different song. The Q
source.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have that. It's a mystery of our time.
So that reminds me also of another kind of creepy song, the greatest song in the world tribute by Tenacious D.
Yeah.
This is not the greatest song in the world. No, this is just a tribute.
Yes.
So it's like a song about the greatest song in the world.
Exactly.
That's what the Monster Mash is.
Exactly. Yeah. So my actual favorite song for Halloween is Red Right Hand by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. But it's not about Halloween at all. But it fits Halloween really well. It's got organ, it's got bells, it's got like a whiny, whistly, like windswept kind of noise. Yeah, it's kind of got bells like that. Yeah, we got some creepy bells up here. Yeah, it's like that. It's got organ, and it's about like meeting like a weird otherworldly figure, and it's full of references to the judgment of God. So it's nice and soul searching.
I like it.
Red Right Hand.
More. We're going to talk a little bit about that later.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is goes along with the classic late 80s Ghostbusters. It starts.
Oh yeah.
See, you can't. They can't copyright infringe us on that because I sang it.
Yeah, there you go.
Is there something strange in your neighborhood? Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
There we go. So that's my favorite. Also, my favorite costume growing up that I was a vampire, and my sister was like I was probably like 7 because my sister was, or 6. I mean, my sister was really young. She was like a little baby, and we went to this concert. It was like a Halloween orchestra concert, and like the kids dressed up, and I thought I was gonna win. I mean, I was the real deal, slick back hair, everything. And my sister was dressed up like a pea in a pod, like she's just a green pod. And she beat me. She won the whole thing.
Yeah, well, it's hard to beat really cute little kids, you know.
That's true.
Yeah, they're gonna win. True. They're gonna win the costume contest, and that's all right.
True. So anyway, what I think it's enough talking about the past. Let's talk about the future. This upcoming Halloween, maybe there's some questions. What's percolating is where the questions percolating in your head get answers from the church's tradition.
As Halloween gets closer, we are all bombarded by signs of the supernatural. Specters and ghouls, skeletons and gravestones. There's an element of innocent fun in all of this. But what about the deeper questions of life after death and the tales of spirits haunting the living. What are Catholics really supposed to believe about all this? What's the difference between superstition and faithful belief in spiritual realities? We know angels are real, and so are demons. The souls of our departed loved ones are very much alive. But what about the rest? Do ghosts exist? Are they just demons? What does the church say about all this, and why does it matter to you? Now you'll know. Good Catholic has the perfect series for this, Angels and the Supernatural. 21 days to examine the invisible world around you. This series will give you a healthy perspective on the spiritual world so that you will respect it, but not live in fear of it. Get the facts on angels, demons, and departed souls. Click the link in the description to watch the trailer and to sign up today.
So, Peter, what's percolating this week?
All right, we didn't have anyone write this in, but we get this question actually a lot, like in comment section and stuff, and people definitely ask it out there. So we decided to just pluck it out of the zeitgeist and talk about it. So,
Nice reference there.
Can Catholics celebrate Halloween? What's the deal?
Complex answer. As always, there's a simple answer, and then there's a complex answer. This one actually doesn't really have a simple answer because it's a little nuanced. We're going to talk about the nuance. There's this dynamic in which holidays have some sort of foundational religious meaning, but then there's this secular kind of usurping of it.
Yep.
And so, like, we as Christians, as Catholics particularly, what is our role in celebrating it or boycotting it, or how do we celebrate it? So
just how do we engage with that?
Yeah. So Halloween in particular, I think first we need to kind of tell the history of it, and you wrote a tome here, so I think we should just get to it.
Yeah. No. Well. So when I was thinking about how to engage with this and how to talk about this, can we give a short answer first? Because I would think the short answer to the question of can Catholics celebrate Halloween is basically yes, but depends what you mean by celebrate, depends what you mean by Halloween, right?
Okay, so yes, but now get to your what is Halloween?
So
like the history.
Yeah, so I looked up, and on our own blog we have a post called A Catholic's Guide to Halloween, and we'll link to that in the show notes so you can see it. And it's kind of talking about what it is and what it isn't. And it says, let's see, basically that some people think Halloween is like came from a pagan holiday. It had like pagan roots. Mm-hmm. And we say in our blog, this is a common misconception. It's relatively new anti-Catholic propaganda with roots going back to the Protestant Reformation, and it has no basis in historical fact. And I thought, okay. But
because this is something I heard, and I think I've said it before, like the connection between Samhain,
because it's Irish, so the words or the letters mean nothing in terms of how you pronounce it. Just ask my friend Siobhan.
Samhain was a Celtic festival around the same time, and so somebody conflated like a Christian idea of All Hallows Eve or All Souls Day or the eve before it.
That's exactly what happened. So I decided to do a deep dive because this is my jam. This is like early medieval history. This is what I do in my spare time. And my wife makes fun of me. So I
get him, dude,
get
him, go, right. Get him.
So, yeah, some people think it's like Samhain, this old Celtic pagan holiday. I found a terrible article on history.com, like History Channel. The alien people.
The alien, yeah.
And it says, right, Samhain was the moment when the spiritual world became visible to humans and the gods enjoyed playing tricks on mortals. It was also a time when the spirits of the dead mingled with the living. Again, this is all according to pagan belief back before Christianity in Ireland. So the Celts believed in gathering all their harvests by Samhain so that it would not be damaged by the evil or mischievous spirits who could return on the first evening of the dark half of the year, meaning the beginning of the fall. Token offerings of the harvested food should be offered to the spirits to placate them. And this was a festival right around the end of October, early November, and this was the kind of supposedly the basis for Halloween. And then the evil Catholics then decided to Christianize it, and then now we have Halloween, which really just proves that Catholics are still pagan. So that's the idea. So there's a whole bunch of problems here. Supposedly, the Pope created All Saints' Day to Christianize it around the year 800.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the story that you see recreated all over the place when you look into like the pagan roots of Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So firstly, problem of geography. The Celts existed in like Ireland and some British, like some.
Wait. Are we gonna allow the facts to get in the way here?
This time, yeah, you betcha.
Isn't it more fun to just like kind of go with the propaganda?
Is Halloween fun?
No, I'm just joking. Go with the facts. I was just joking.
This is
I was
more
just
fun.
messing.
This is more fun to like to just tear this to shreds. That way we can celebrate Halloween and get some candy.
Go for
Let's
it.
go. All right. The Celts existed in like Ireland and some like nooks and crannies in the British Isles, and Christianity was everywhere by that point, like all across Europe, all across the Mediterranean, into the Middle East, and spreading around the globe, or starting to at least. And so the idea that the Pope unilaterally decided for the entire Christian world to create a new religious holiday because some people in the far-flung corner of it kind of celebrated a holiday around this time is a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the fact that the Celtic peoples use a different calendar to begin with. So the idea that this holiday always happened on the October 31st, well, they didn't have an October 31st. It was a completely different calendar. So the fact that it happens around the same time of year doesn't really mean much. There's the problem of dates. So meaning that there were All Saints days or All Saints festivals or All Martyr festivals going back to like before Rome fell. So like the time of Constantine, way before there was contact between Christianity.
I think that's like a pretty darn important one.
Yeah, right? That's the big one.
We've been doing it before. We know about it.
So Christians were already celebrating like different versions of All Saints Day, which is like All Hallows Day and All Hallows Eve. Like 400 years before the supposed like Christianization of Samhain happened. And then Pope Gregory the Third, one of the Pope Gregories, created it on November 1st because that's when he dedicated a particular chapel in Rome to All Saints. And what he was doing, and he was mimicking the existing feast that happened in Germany, which was not at all Celtic, that when they celebrated on November 1st.
Now, was that church the Parthenon?
Pantheon?
No, it's the Parthenon. It's in Rome. Is the Parthenon?
It's the Pantheon.
Are you sure?
Yes. Parthenon is Greece.
Okay, then you're right. So the Pantheon in Rome is the Church of All Saints.
It is now, but I don't know if that's the one that was dedicated on November 1st. That might have been one of the ones that was like going back to like the Roman times. But you're right. That's part of this. That's part of this like development. And then there's also the last thing that we don't really know anything about Samhain. Actually, like we know a little bit about what Christians wrote about it in the 800s when it was already kind of like in the past. It was already like long ago. And then we know a lot more about it by investigations done in the like the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s.
Yep.
So we're like more than 1,000 years removed from it. And it was largely by people who were very anti-Catholic. So when a bunch of immigrants, like Irish immigrants and Italian immigrants, came to America in the 1800s, and they brought with them all of their, to many Americans at that time, crazy, wacky, pagan, pseudo-evil rituals like the Mass and the Rosary and their popery. One of the things they brought with them is the celebration of All Hallows Eve.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, this is why Christmas was actually banned in Massachusetts for a while, because it was an anti-Catholic movement, right? So sometimes I think that's has historical precedence even before the 1800s of America being against something because of its connection to the church rather than its truth and history connected to some pagan ritual, right?
Basically, the people who said that Halloween were pagan are the same people that think the Pope is pagan and that Christmas is pagan and that the Rosary is pagan and that the Mass is pagan and that you are pagan.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. No, that was some good research.
So there we go. I'm probably going to throw it all into a blog post and we'll see. And then you can read more details and look at my sources and stuff.
Absolutely.
I'll try to
That'd be
link to that. I'll
great.
probably get that done before this goes out live. So if you want to read more, I'll try to get
So
it to you.
where then did we get All Hallows Eve being this commercialized thing that actually does have some I guess questionable things? Because I do want to talk about that, and after
Yeah, I do too.
kind of give us that history, then I'll kind of talk about how we do it today.
Definitely. So a lot of the traditions, as far as I can tell, became like a hodgepodge of different like ethnic celebrations, namely that immigrants brought to America. And then here in the United States, they all got like kind of thrown together and you know, morphed into a new thing. And that new thing is what we call Halloween, with trick-or-treating and costumes and candy and jack-o'-lanterns and all that stuff. So like the Scots used to carve jack-o'-lanterns, you know, and there are some stories that have like, oh, it wards off evil spirits, you know, but like there wasn't like a real belief system attached to that. You know, there in English-speaking countries, there was the practice of soul cakes, that for All Souls Day and All Saints Day, you'd like make these little cakes, and then you go from door to door and you collect them, and basically if you receive a cake from someone, you're supposed to pray for their ancestors.
That's nice.
You know, as like praying for their dearly
That
departed.
sounds Catholic.
It's very, very Catholic. And I think it continued even after, like even into Anglicanism. But so like the whole door-to-door trick-or-treat, give me a thing and I'll pray for your family, you know, association with the dead people, that's kind of from the Anglo-Scottish thing. And then the veneration of the dead, right? Like praying for the dead. That was just like, again, a Catholic thing, praying for the souls in purgatory. So you get that in Ireland, you get that in Italy, you get that in a lot of these really, really Catholic countries.
You get that in Mexico. With
Yeah, you get those in
Dia de los
Mexico
Muertos.
too, for sure. So you kind of throw it all together, and then, I mean, remove the Catholic parts of it, because this is America. And then, you get kind of something that looks like what we celebrate today.
And then you commercialize
it and
make it
secularize
into movies, make it into TV shows, into Disney specials, and you package it, slap it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You're selling it, says Malcolm from Jurassic Park. So I also want to say this, like, so some of this isn't necessarily like the candy isn't necessarily evil. Like,
right.
Can your kids trick or treat? Yeah, like I think so. Can your kids, think or I guess watch like a scary movie if it's appropriate? Yeah, that's not bad. Horror as a genre is not intrinsically evil. It's only horror that kind of blurs the line between good and evil. In fact, some classic horror as a genre, whether it's books or literature or movies, can be very effective in showing the distinction between good and evil, and how good will win in the end. I think the problem comes whenever gore or fear becomes the goal, and not a distinction and an exposing of sin and evil. I think there's now a cultural thing when it comes to adults celebrating Halloween, in which like you have like maybe some immodesty attached to it.
Yes.
Put
it lightly.
I didn't want to have to have us add another disclaimer at the beginning, but you might understand what I'm talking about. Certain costumes that aren't good for just modesty's sake, and then obviously anything that dabbles into the occult, into the demonic, and into just messing around with things you shouldn't be messing around with. An example of this actually is in our town. We have something in St. Francisville called the Witches Ride, and parishioners have come up to me and said, should I participate in this? And I think at the end of the day, it's probably just like an innocent somebody, kind of like the Santa run, like a Santa 5K around Christmas. This is the Witches Ride. Everyone rides a bike, they dress up like witches. I said, I just generally stay away from things involving witches, and I don't know if there's any real witches that'll be there, but what I said was some mature parishioners. I said, why don't you check it out this year and report back to me on what it is. Is it playful? Is it just kind of ridiculous? Whatever. But generally, I'm probably going to at the end of the day just say, you know what, parishioners, let's just stay away from things that might glorify witches, which are real. you know, there's the funny version, and then there's the not funny. So just got to be careful of not dabbling and stuff like that. So I think that's the answer. Is like, use your reason, use your discernment, pray about it. Maybe highlight the connection to All Saints Day more than the culture does with your family. Pray for your ancestors, and everything will be okay.
Yeah, I think that's the but part of the yes but, right? So, like, Halloween is not supposed to be a glorification of death or spirits, or it's not supposed to be what the old pagans did, where we like try to, you know, cross the plane from the spiritual or from the physical into the spiritual realm and, like, you know, commune with spirits beyond. You know, no, like, we're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to do that. So Halloween should be on some level All Hallows Eve, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not supposed to glorify death, but it should have us remember our death, which actually brings me to my Bean of the Week. So the Bean of the Week is a pick-me-up. We all need one. Here's ours. My Bean of the Week is something that's associated with All Saints Day and All Souls Day, especially in particularly Catholic cultures, which I love, Mexican culture, Hispanic cultures in general, French culture in South Louisiana. This is a big deal. It's called the Blessing of the Grave. So either on All Souls Day, November 2nd, or All Saints Day, a lot of times, because, it's usually a holy day of obligation, so more people are at Mass, we'll do a Blessing of the Graves. So family members will go stand by. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to say like an evening Mass on All Saints Day, and then I'm going to process over with like altar servers, candles, aspergillium, and go to the graves, and family members, if they want to, shows up at the graves of their loved ones, and I go around and bless the graves as they're there, which is a really cool experience for young people in our community, because they're no longer, the world wants to hide death from us. They wants to act like it doesn't exist, that we're going to live forever, which is a big fat lie. And the true liturgical imagination, I also wrote that down earlier, I wanted to bring that up, like Halloween and All Saints Day and All Souls Day help build a liturgical imagination, that like there's a cycle to the world and to celebration and
to the
life
year,
and
to the
death.
Seasons, and
yeah.
Totally.
So like a kid can, hopefully grow up thinking, look, there's been so many people that have gone before me, and my family have paved the way, and they've kept the faith, and it's my time to keep that faith as well. And we're praying for our loved ones who've passed on. So that's a really cool experience. That's my Bean of the Week.
That's awesome. I never heard of that, though. The Blessing in the Graves. That's really cool.
Really? Wow. It's legit around here. Like, people will show up, and in Vacherie, when I was in Vacherie, it was like people had picnics in the graveyard.
That's awesome.
Like, they brought like ice chests, and they were like telling stories, and like you'd bless the grave, and they'd go by and they like crack open a beer and be like, oh, Steve, Uncle Steve was crazy, oh man, and blah, blah. I mean, it is so like gutter, like the experience of life is so, in some of these cultures in South Louisiana, is so gritty, and like no one would do this in the city. Right. Like New England, you think people are doing this? Heck no. You think Washington, D.C., the people in Washington, D.C. are like, eating picnics on people's graves? No. Because they don't think they're going to die.
I was going to ask, what are cemeteries like? Do you have like the churchyard with like the graves kind of on the property?
In Vacherie, the cemetery is right on the Batcher, on the levee. We had graves all the way from the 1780s. All the way up until 2021. It's like 300 years or something, or over 200 at least. And it's just there are a lot of above ground kind of crypts, classic. If you look at New Orleans pictures of cemeteries,
Yeah.
they're kind of like that all over South Louisiana because of the water table and the water level. And whenever it floods,
sense.
graves tend to pop out, which isn't good. So we have mausoleums and crypts. I mean, the other day I went to Grand Isle to do some hurricane relief to clean up, and they were pumping water out of graves in Grand Isle. I mean, I don't think we should bury anyone on Grand Isle anymore. Grand Isle is like in the middle of the Gulf. But yeah, so that's our cemetery. So it's kind of like a community area.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's something I think we should try to reclaim in the way we build churches, you know, in the way we just, I don't know, plan our campuses of our churches. You know, it's like we should be burying people on sacred ground, you know, and that should be a part of our architecture, so to speak.
Absolutely, man. What's your bean?
Honestly, it's just this apple cider. This is hitting the spot. I'm getting into the fall festive spirit. And being a New Englander, where we hide all of our graves and our grave sites and stuff, with all the Puritan mess. But we have really good apples, and we got apple cider, so I always get real nostalgic in the fall. And this apple cider is doing it for me.
Hey, I have a joke for you. What did the astronomers say to the moon in October?
I don't even know.
Are you sow waxing or sow waning? You've been listening to Catholic Cider Talk with me, Father Brad, and our resident Good Catholic, Peter Gone. Coffee Talk is brought to you by the Catholic Company and is part of the Good Catholic Podcast Cooperative. If this episode has blessed you, you can find more content at goodcatholic.com. As always, we ask you to leave a review, a rating, share the pod with a friend, or simply pray for us and our mission. If you have a question of your own that has been percolating, shoot us an email at askapriest@goodcatholic.com, or you can leave the first inaugural voice message at speakpipe.com/Catholic Coffee Talk. We might feature your message on a future episode, and we'll answer all your questions to the best of our ability. To quote the psalmist, taste and see that the Lord is good. Continue to drink deeply from our great faith. We'll talk next week. Peace.